Did we not feature Jared in that? Does he not pull up on the pictures?
No, not yet. So, hello and welcome. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that when you're here.
Oh,
Sorry.
hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast. It's been a while.
We're gonna go into if you're in the chat, and if you're not, you're probably not hearing me say that. So, those of you that are in the chat, please put your reasons why Andy hasn't been here. Your suppositions as to why Andy hasn't been here since and we'll figure out who was correct. I have a couple of my own, but sorry, that was an inadvertent bell ringing. But yeah, so this is a flash from the past. We used to do it like this. I mean, that sounds hot, but it was just the two of us that started this podcast 5+ years ago, 300 something episodes ago.
God, 5 years.
Yeah, I think the text I got from you, let's do a podcast, and I'm like, who are you again? Was August. It was like right before the Watford game.
And then I sent the dick pic, and you're like, "Oh, you."
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I generally only recognize men by penis size and in your case, curvature. But yeah, it was August 2016, right after we started the season, after the first big summer tour of California, and here we are. 5.5 years later, kings of not having people watch our podcast.
I like this one. I was sore throat and I couldn't.
You know, in this day and age of sickness and illness, you know.
Oh,
or that wasn't the reason your throat was sore. Maybe
he was busy. Or I was busy with a new job.
That's pretty damn close.
A little bit, yeah. Started a company. You know, it's also like
a company. Bought some mountain houses.
I
jetted off to meet my rugby friends in exotic cities that Mike Hernandez has never been to.
You know what though, Mike? I actually got to see Sean play rugby for the first time, and it was the most like I had to VPN into Australia, sign up for an Australian streaming service with a fake address, right? And then had to then watch that while he played rugby in Japan, which was like unbelievable. But you know, the only reason that I found out
this is a guy because you know there's 14 people here that have no idea what you're talking about. This is a guy that on one of your many gallivanting trips, and I'm not one to talk. I gallivant my ass off. You were in what, Cancun?
I was in Cabo and our sons were playing. And essentially, he is an Australian rugby player who plays for the national rugby team. And they made a comment one week like, oh, how do we get back to Hawaii without going through LA? Because we've already been there. And I just said, hey, Denver's got a direct flight every day. If you're ever in town, you got a place to stay. And the next day, he's like, hey, we booked our flights. And then we left Cabo, and my wife was like, did we just invite total strangers to our house? And then I Googled him, and I was like, no, there's a lot of people who know this person. They're like weddings in People, Australia. And then when he got to Denver, I was like, so you said you played rugby. Well, what's the extent? And he kind of shared it with us. And he's a big deal overseas, but super cool guy. What were we talking about?
Oh, just how you haven't been on the podcast because you met actual. I've tried over the last 5 years to bring to you some big name professional athletes that play for the team that you love, and once you find some rando hot with a hot wife rugby player from down under, you are too cool for us.
Yeah, and we're out planning a trip with them in like the summer. So if you want to come along, you and Steph are more than welcome to join us. I think we might be going to Hawaii.
That sounds. I mean, condom or no condom?
Oh, none. Hey, you know what though? Like, I'm surprised that you are able to find time to podcast with your building of mansions in Florida, which I'm very excited to come and visit and basically just live in.
You've been saying for 5 years that you were excited to come and visit. I've visited you.
I don't mean
Bryce.
I want to go somewhere warm.
I've taken 10 to 15 dumps in your son's bathroom, and you've taken none in mine.
Yeah, but that's only because you stayed here for like 2 nights. So that
I'm prolific AF.
Is it bad to say you have the second weakest bowels on the Gooners podcast?
in the last week or so, yeah, and just thoughts and prayers to our other member. We won't
send
name
the
which one
link
of the
to
three.
Hernandez. He wants to join us.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
You know what? I'll be honest. Like, apart from everything else that's busy, I just don't want to talk about Arsenal. Like,
that's like one of the real reasons. You have been busy, but like every time we've come to Andy, it's. I mean, we've been losing, or it's the same narrative. So today I'm going to torture you with some of the narrative that you hate when I torture you about. But
Dublin, no, I was talking about Sean. Yeah, Dublin. It is Sean. Let me know how you knew that. You know, Mike, I will say this, and maybe you can resonate with this, but the last couple weeks, I'd say maybe a month, the watching Arsenal has become way more excitable because now my kid is almost 5. He enjoys watching them.
There you go. See, that makes such a difference.
We sat down on Saturday morning specifically, and like he'll do other things as 5-year-olds do, but the joy and the amount of celebration, like when we scored goals, you know, he's got his Saka kit on, he's running around, like, and then he's reenacting the goals. I'm like, this is a lot of fun now.
There's a transition, and I mean, I love that you're living through. When you had the kid, I remember. I mean, your son. We've been podcasting longer than your son's been alive. I remember.
Yeah, I think you were one of the first people I told.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the FA Cup 2000, or when we got into the FA Cup or something. The game before the FA Cup 2000. Well, you know exactly when it was. It was what, May 2017.
That's when he was born. Yeah,
he was born like the same weekend that I think that Chris Cornell died. But anyway, you know, so maybe he is reincarnated and you have a musician on your hand. But the excitement goes from copying daddy to I really actually care about this. And you see when it happens, because like it isn't just you got excited, he looks at you and wants to be just like you, even though I'm his actual dad. It's if he was watching the game by himself and Arsenal scored, he would celebrate just as hard, right? I mean, or is he not at that phase yet?
Oh no, like he literally jumped off the sofa with his arms screaming, and then was like, because my mom, obviously, we're all from the same part of London, so she follows it. He ran downstairs, maybe we scored, you know, and I'm like, you know, and so he really gets into it.
Yeah, I have this video that I tweeted. I don't have the ability to play up, but when we won the last FA Cup in 2020, I mean, my son was 17 by that point, or almost 17 by that point. But the celebration we had, the only reason I don't like watching it is because I'm 9 times as big as he is, which is absurd. I mean, like, it's sickening because it's a full body shot of me. But I'm working on that, man.
You're down some LBs.
We're gonna get to Arsenal in a minute, but let's just say this is Arsenal themed in that we keep talking about what Arsenal is going to be in 3-4 years, and I'm just doing my best to try to still be here in 3 or 4 years. So it is topical. Started my latest routine, and I'm dedicated to making it my final routine, at least in the sense that it actually works and sticks this time. But 23 pounds in the last 18 days. I'm back. I've been having the soups. In fact, I'm going to cook a soup while we're on the air today to demonstrate how dedicated
I will say, Mikey,
doesn't show yet, but.
Well, jokes aside, I know missing Gooners was a huge deal for you, but you know, obviously Mike and I have known each other for 6 years, probably around that. And we're in a very close-knit group of people. Most of them live in DC, a lot in Denver. We're all Gooners, right? That's the one thing we share in common. And Mike shared with us in that group, like, hey, guys, I'm thinking about not going to Gooners. And I don't think one person told you to go because you're like, this is my health. And we're all like.
One person said, can't you wait until afterwards?
Who was that?
Tom Rosenhammer. Which I fully expected because he's my travel buddy who always, you know, we have a good time together in random cities. But yeah, I mean, Gooners is a big deal to me. I love the companionship. I love going to hang out with other Gooners. It's a really, really fun event. There wasn't one last year because of COVID. So I've been looking forward to this for 6 months. And, you know, I started this thing. I'm like, I started in January. I was just depressed. I'm like, I'm going to die pretty soon, probably getting my sleep because I'm not doing the things I need to be doing with my sleep issues. So I'm like, you know, I got to do this. So February 2nd, I started, and my mindset was I'll prove to myself I could do it for a week, and then I'll go have 4 days of debauchery in New Orleans because I can't just go to New Orleans and then take it easy. I'm too addictive of a personality. And and everybody else is going to be doing it. So that's just not me.
What do they say? It takes 3 months to break a habit.
At least I would say a year and a half, but to go to that and then like get right back on the wagon. I've proven to myself so many more times that there's always something that's going to happen that's going to keep me from getting started. And so I'm like, I got to cancel this trip. So I did. And yeah, so I'm still going. So I do want to stay here. You've certainly lost a lot of weight since we started and kept it off with an active lifestyle.
I've been trying to. It's tough, and everyone I'm sure listening, the biggest thing, Mike, is just lifestyle, right? And like, hey, going back to like not taking this down the road of too emotion, but like bringing it back. Like it sounds like Arsenal are coming over here in the summer. So we'll get to go and see them on tour. And then, ultimately, if they're in LA, would be great for me because my wife's family are there. So I can actually take Ollie to an Arsenal game and then hand him off to Chris and be like, yo, if he's being a dick, you deal with him because I'm watching the game. Well, actually, it's going to be, I'll wave to you from the press box, Mike and I are in, and you can wave up to us.
I don't know. The whole press thing last time on the 2019 tour, you got sick of it after exactly one game and one press conference. Because I ruined the press conference for you.
Yeah, well, no, you didn't. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. But I am, I'm hopeful that they do something, and it sounds like it'll be at SoFi Stadium. So,
it makes sense. I mean, they'll probably. Yeah. I would think there'll be at least 2 games, and they might be both in California again. They might. I've heard rumblings of one in SoFi, and then the other one in Poughkeepsie, New York. At the
New York
at the Civic Center. No, I was just trying to think of some small town. That
I was going to say I was going to say LA sounds like the best place.
I was shocked when they came to DC. That was fantastic. I just wish you would come. But anyway,
that's what she said.
We had a game.
We did. We played
another game. We won.
So I went into this game like you look at the table and you're like, okay, we have some games in hand, which before the Chelsea result, I think it would have tied us on points with them. And you look at this team and you're like, okay, we clearly cannot get an injury. And then you look at Brentford and I'm like, this is a banana skin because obviously they beat us in the beginning of the season. Now, granted, there was a lot of shit happening, newly promoted team on opening day and all that.
I think we've learned exactly how much of a difference there was in our squad in that game.
Right.
It almost makes it more excusable.
For me, by halftime, it was squeaky bum time because I was like, this has 1-0 Brentford all over it. But have you seen that many corners in an Arsenal match before? Like, when was the last time we had like 15 corners before halftime?
It was like 15 to 0 as well in corners. Like we didn't concede a single corner, which that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
And we've actually scored off some corners this year. So it's like, are those wasted or like? I mean, we had great pressing football. We were all over them. Maybe 1 or 2 moments where they kind of pressured us a little bit, but the first half I was like, Jesus, we look unbelievable.
Yeah, to get that sheer amount of corners can't happen without significant pressure. I mean, if you're not we've had games where we had 0 shots on goal, and I would venture to think that we probably didn't get more than 3 corners the entire 90 minutes in those games. Yeah. Because, in those games we didn't even look like threatening at all. So, to get that many corners, we weren't just dinging it off of the defender's leg near the corner flag. We were, clearly putting pressure on saves over the, around the goal by the keeper, last minute deflections. And that level of sustained pressure, it normally takes us something bad happening in the game for us to do that, like wake up and do that. But we did that really right from the very start. I know that this love fest of the old fashioned Gooners in the USA podcast of just Mike and Andy is lovely, but we're gonna bring in our protege, whose podcast got a big boost this week by one of his members. So we'll bring him in and we'll talk about it. He is a member of the Gooners podcast. Mikey Hers, how you been?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, Sebi's officially famous now. He's going to leave the podcast pretty soon and join our splog. I can see it now.
Yeah, so Sebi, who? What the hell? Oh, is this? Andy's welcome to Microsoft.
I just assumed Andy had that already prepped and ready.
Dude, I was like, the fucking ad on YouTube got me. Otherwise, it would have been perfect timing.
What did you put? La Cucaracha?
I just put in Mexican music.
Yeah, no. You really caught me off guard because I left my phone over there and I heard my ringtone. But okay, it's just you. Ooh.
Such a stereotype, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, and we know that you never do that. So yeah, we got Mikey Hers here, who does a podcast as well, who's making its return tonight. Is that right? Not another
we're back after a month of what we like to call postponements, because Arsenal fans, we postpone things, we don't cancel anything. So it's been a crazy roller coaster up and down for all four of us really in the last month, and we couldn't coordinate. We went through being sick, we went through Kelly added a new addition to his family. So thank you so much, Andy. I don't miss podcasting with you. Can't wait to see you in another 5 months. And so we're finally back at it. So looking forward to it.
It's the return of the pods. I mean, we hadn't podcasted in a month since we had Charles Watts on. If you don't include the gerbil and the Bell transfer special that we ran with a few days left in the transfer window. If you haven't seen it yet, please go back to it. And I hate the fact that got almost as many views as the Charles Watts pod. And far more than any other podcast that we've done this season, more than likely. But hey,
I really wish people could backtrack and see the live comments though, including when they click on that video. The live comments were just freaking gold.
If you watch it on YouTube, you definitely can have the comments open.
And it's like real-time comments that come up as they came up in real time. So if you missed that special, go back. If you've missed or never watched Not Another Arsenal podcast, make sure to watch it tonight. Stay up, Mark and Dublin Gooner, and all of you until 3 a.m. UK time, and Alyssa and Ryan should check that out as well. Vivek, I think you're in California, so you can watch it easy. But Sebi
in here too. She's in Cali, isn't she?
Who? Oh yeah, Soph. Yeah, absolutely.
Soph, yeah.
So and welcome, Soph. Good to have you in here. So Sebi, who's been coming up with memes and hilarious stuff for our show for a while. He's been doing it for your show. Finally hit the big time. He sent me a private message today saying, "Did you listen to Arsblog? Or did you listen to the Arscast?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't to this point. But were you on it?" And the guy has been mentioned on our podcast constantly, and I never have seen him be this excited before. So I'm a little bit hurt, but a little bit happy for him as well, because this clearly was his dream, and he can now shut down shop just in general.
Talking about shutting down shop, defending corners. How do we segue back into the game? You know what? No, Mike. God damn it! I'm gonna have to call one of you Magic Mike and the other one Mike. So
it's gonna kill you to call me Magic. You hate that.
You hate that. A better alternative than calling Mike Magic Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna demand now. It's in my rider. The M&Ms, which I can't eat anymore, and then the calling me Magic.
So hers. First, we were talking about the first half and all the corners that we went to waste, which Mike, brought up a good point. Like, those corners come because we're attacking. But I was watching the match and I was thinking about your boy at Milan, and I'm like, this is the perfect match for a Giroud type player, because so many crosses kept going into the box and there was just no one there, or Lacazette was just, he's 3 feet shorter than everyone else. And I was just thinking, if we had a Giroud in there, we would have probably peppered 4 or 5 of those on goal and made it way more of a nuisance in that match. Like, it would have just been a completely different dynamic.
It would have been 48-0.
Yeah, it could have been.
Easily. Yeah, I know. I just saw some stats floating around on Twitter, and they're saying Cedric put in some record number of crosses himself. It was 12, 14 crosses throughout the game. And there was another, I think it was a random game Burnley, where we ended up tying. It was a 0-0, 1-1 at home. And the last 15, 20 minutes of the game was cross. And you kind of think we ain't got the players, literally, unless you could get at least in the corners, you could make an argument that Gabriel, knows how to get on the ball every once in a while. But the whole tactic of crossing, I don't know if it's just player, or I don't know if the manager is asking them to do that. But at this point, for the time being, seeing that our strikers is just Lacazette and Nketiah, I think we should I don't know, play it short and just do the horseshoe of death, as that people would like go crazy of. But I genuinely think that's almost a better alternative than just whipping it into the box and hoping for somebody to head it, because Lacazette, he ain't it.
Part of me was thinking like the horseshoe of death is a good analogy. Like, are we expecting to lose where the ball gets headed out into that area where like Odegaard, like they can close in and then like really be on top of the and because we've scored a lot of goals from there where the ball drops and then we just do a quick 1-2 and we're putting shots on goal. But it just seems super. I just looked it up, Mike. I think it was 32 crosses this match and 35 against Burnley. So, against two weaker oppositions, but even if you took like half of that in a match, teams would be happy with 15 plus.
Well, and are those crosses all like aerial crosses, or because we like to go to the byline or the touch line and cut it back on the ground, which I think has been our most effective strategy this season. And Tierney's amazing at that. Saka is amazing at that.
Mm-hmm.
That I consider to be a cross, or maybe you can call it a cutback. When you've got a defender on you and you lift it and bend it in, that's the kind of cross that we just don't have the personnel to finish. And I see over the past 20 years, and it goes back further than that, but so many players from Arsenal, people have this romanticism too, that they cry when they leave and they're upset when they leave, and they hate to see the guy doing well for another team. I mean, Rosicky, they hated when he left, or they just romanticize him. Santi Cazorla, I certainly get that. So many of these guys. For some people it's Ozil, for some people it's Aubameyang now, and we'll talk about that. But for me, it was Giroud. We replaced him with Aubameyang, and at the time, and still, I would say that if you had to choose between a 30-year-old Giroud at the time and a 27-year-old Aubameyang at the time, or whatever, maybe he was 29, I go with Aubameyang 10 times out of 10 between the two of them. But I just wish we could have still found a way to have somebody with that profile, because he's still banging them in at 35 now.
Yeah, I think the problem with Giroud, at least for me, was he's never that striker that you start every match.
No, he didn't have to be.
No, he didn't. But you're also not going to sub him on the first half against Brentford, right? So it's kind of like, I understand the domino effect of why he left to go where he did for Aubameyang, and then who left from Chelsea. Was it I forget, the striker that went to Dortmund? There was a whole like domino effect. But ultimately, the way that we're playing right now is great. But when we come up against the likes of Liverpool, where we're low on possession, like we can't do that. That's just not going to happen, and it makes me nervous. But one thing, to keep the ball rolling here, were you guys disappointed that there wasn't a clean sheet? Right? I mean,
horribly.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't worried, and I didn't I just wasn't worried about the game somehow ending 2-2. Although there was that one last second run where you were like, "Holy shit, this is about to happen." But in general, like when that goal went in and VAR allowed it, I figured there was really not enough time for anything bad to happen. But yeah, it was Michy Batshuayi that went to Dortmund. I was just more disappointed for the back five, for Ramsdale and the back four, who just played so well, and just the number of clean sheets we've had. I just love seeing that number tick up, because did you know, guys, that if you have a clean sheet, you can't lose? You can drop points, but you cannot lose a game.
Statistically speaking, I think that's
38
correct.
clean sheets, and you're
double-check
invincible. By the way, my water is boiling now in the kettle, so I'm going to mute myself.
Are we doing that again?
I'm on soup, man.
He's making soup.
Okay, go for it.
So Mikey, that was our first match in 9 days, right? So like, I look at it and I think, okay, Smith Rowe really hasn't gotten a massive run on of play. Xhaka obviously had some time off. Saka never really found his groove in the match. He played some phenomenal football, but for me, the one standout player going forward was Odegaard. I thought he was tremendous. But that was 9 days off, but we looked pretty fucking sharp the entire match. And I'm wondering, is this like a sense of, hey, they're just young and they have a lot of energy? Or do you give credit to Arteta and his team with like, hey, this is our foundation, this is our tactic, this is our plan, and the players just did perfect. I mean, or is it a combination of all of them?
In other words, Mike, do you give credit to Arteta for having us finish 8th last season so that we have 9 days between each game?
My fucking manager. Let me tell you, the planning that requires.
Smarts.
Big brain, baby. No, so I think if you notice towards the end of January, we had those rough couple of games, like the Liverpool game. I know that like the Spurs game got postponed. You could see it, man. They were knackered. Like that second game versus Liverpool. That second game versus Liverpool, when I saw that team come out, you're like, okay, that's a pretty strong team. It's the team that we can put out. But the performance of that, they just look tired after like minute 20. And I think because they're so young, physically they're not maybe as developed as some senior players. And I think it just got the best of them. And towards the end, they were just really just barely making it. So some people said it would have been beneficial to play Spurs. Seeing the way they performed in that Liverpool game, how knackered they look, I think it was for the best, to be completely honest. So I think just the 9 days off, they had training, they had time to bond and glue. They went for vacation essentially, and they did a camp away from everything, and they didn't have to deal with like the media and everybody just surrounding them and melting everything down. So sometimes in life, it's good to take a step away. So it was pretty good for them to leave the country, warm weather, relax, train, glue, and just get their fitness level back up. So sometimes that's all you really need is just a little time off. You might not even realize you're that tired where you're in the middle of the shit. But then when you take a step back and you take a day or two off, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I feel so much better. So I think ultimately that paid off.
I do think if we were in a European competition, we would have reinforced either stronger in the summer or definitely in January. And I think when the uppers look at this squad, barring Nketiah and maybe Lacazette, I mean, you can always put Martinelli or Pepe in that. So we do have positional players that can rotate in. They're just not going to be out and out. But I think the commentator, right as the match started, I forget who it was, he made a comment that if Arsenal keep Xhaka and Partey on the field, there aren't going to be a lot of games they lose. Right? Jesus Christ.
I know. I'm trying. I'm looking at Mikey.
Sorry. Look, do you want me to get to start getting, gaining weight again? I mean, I have to do this.
Okay. The last part I want to say is like, ultimately, for as much as we peppered the goal for 65 solid minutes, the game started to then open up. And I think at that point, we took 2 goals out of nothing, right? Brentford got a little bit more comfortable. We had obviously realized like, hey, we can get them on the counterattack. And ultimately, the pushing forward and the counters were just phenomenal. And both goals were insane. I think Smith Rowe more than Saka, because that just came like, that was just unbelievable. He took 3 players and just turned them and somehow scored a goal. But this is just such an exciting team. And I think we have we always say it, like Arsenal need 2 or 3 players. I think we need 1 player to finish this puzzle. Like if all players are healthy, right? Because they almost were. Like if you look at that starting 11, aside from Cedric and Tomiyasu, you can almost say like Smith Rowe and Martinelli could trade in that position, right? You could switch any of them in there and you're fine. So that 11, aside from Lacazette, like we've got 1 missing puzzle piece, and it's going to be a fucking good side.
I think we've got 2, but for the time being, as long as he stays, under control, then this one,
I agree.
Fine for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he should. He's a great, but listen, we're not changing any manager's opinion. The guy just fucking walks into the starting 11. So until a better player comes in and forces his hand, it's still not a bad.
Well, yeah, and with the January window closed, with who we have, I would much rather see him and Partey in there, and just kind of the last 90 minutes of the game will be squeaky bum time as far as a red card or a penalty or something is concerned. But yeah, I mean, ESR, the beauty of him is we talk about how, when Gabby Martinelli comes off the bench, maybe he's not necessarily as strong as when he starts. Same with Pepe. Like you have to figure out whether you grow into the game or you don't. ESR, you just stick him out there any minute, any game, minute 1, minute 60, minute 80, and the guy is transformational. I mean, he is, to me, a lot of people say Gabriel, and when you look at our defensive record, it's hard to argue against that. Some people say Ramsdale, and I love Ramsdale, but ESR is the player of the season for me to this point. He changes games, and you could. The nice thing is you could say that about Odegaard, although there are some games he seems to kind of take off. There have been very few games from ESR that he's looked subpar. And you could say it was earlier in his run of starting every single game and maybe when he got a little bit tired or jaded. But, I mean, that guy is going to be playing for England in 18 months or 20 months or whatever it is. I can't wait for that. It's going to be a different-looking England side with Arsenal players in there, and that's what we thought we saw with the English core 5 or 6 years ago, or it was the British core because it included Ramsey. But the English part of that, we thought it was going to be transformational, and you know, now one of them's playing for our house in the middle of the street.
I know, Mike. I don't know if this is the case, right? But I was at a Super Bowl party. My neighbors are from Brazil, and I was debating their 12-year-old son on who was better, Neymar or Salah, right? And obviously they're Brazilian, so they're like, Neymar's better. And the dad was like, absolutely not happening. Like, you take Mo over anyone. And I said to him, I'm like, is Neymar that big in Brazil? And we start having this conversation. He says, you know who's actually growing in stature? And he's like, I think it's designed by corporation, but he's like, Martinelli's stock is rising pretty quick. And I was like, well, you know, he's had a lot of injuries, and the last couple months he's been slowly working his way in. And, you know, he's like, I think it's because they know, like, if he stays on this track and he stays healthy, and I'm like, he won't be at Arsenal longer than a few more seasons if he continues on this trajectory. Because, you know,
it depends on Arsenal's trajectory as well. I mean,
but ultimately, like, a Brazilian of that stature will
goes to Real Madrid.
Yeah, will always go to Real or Barca or somewhere, right? And shit, it's going to be very hard for us if, like, I could not see Saka and Martinelli being at Arsenal 5 years from now if they continue on the path they're on, and we continue on the path we're on.
If Arsenal is the Arsenal of the last 5 years, then I would 100% agree with you. And frankly, I would think that would end up being our Liverpoolish, like, okay, we're not good enough to keep these players. That sucks, but we're going to get hundreds of millions of pounds, and if we spend it right, like Liverpool did, then maybe we'll get back there. But that's like one more reload from the reloads that we've already been on, and I don't want to have that. I feel like this is the reload. This is the moment. This is our night. Tonight is our night. You know, let the spirit take over, whatever. So yeah, Martinelli is a stud, and he can't even get into the Arsenal side. How good are we?
That was champagne. He's popping the bottle, celebrating Saka's new contract extension.
It's fucking sick.
As far as having these type of players, these superstars in the club, the rumor is Saka, he's up for an extension. There's always the stories of like, oh, Liverpool's keeping tab, waka. I personally, I think we're good 100% for one more contract extension for Saka. And I think our headaches are coming down 3-4 years down the line, depending on where the club is. But I'll say this, and, famous last words, everything is indicating that the club is moving in a smarter, more efficient way. And the players that they have seem to be gelling very well. So I don't know, man. I'm more optimistic than I was maybe 2 years ago when Martinelli was coming up and saying, oh, this guy's going to leave for Barcelona any minute now. I'm way more optimistic of him sitting around, maybe extending his contract again. So Smith Rowe seemingly wants to stay at the club forever. And so if he does that, holy shit, I can't remember the last one club player. So that would be absolutely insane. But we got a great core. They're all approaching their prime. They're not even in their prime, which is amazing if you stop and think about it, because a defender to be that good, we're talking about Gabriel. What is he? 22, 23? Normally like peak for a defender is like 28, right? We saw Virgil van Dijk for the most part. And I'm not drawing comparisons and saying, they're the same level, because Gabriel is obviously better than Virgil van Dijk. I said it. But he's not
1/3 of as good though, which is what the price was.
But obviously, he took took him time to develop, right? He played Celtic in his 20s. He played Southampton, and then not until he was like later on in his career is when he made the move and made the big jump in quality. So, it's exciting to say the very least. So I'm not going to go the cliche, be excited route here, but I'm optimistic as I always am. And I'm looking forward to see how the club is going to move. So I'm one of the minority, it seems, at least from my timeline, that was okay with the decision of the club saying, hey, if we can't bring in a specific player that we want, we don't want to commit on bringing in somebody so rush. So and then the rumor came out that maybe Isaac was the main guy they want, but they're like 75 mil, no way. I'm fully okay with that. And so,
well, I agree with Andy that if it wasn't for our spaced out schedule over the next 4 months, where we have like 15 games in 16 weeks or something like that, or did, I think they might have acted differently. But in this case, they said we'll take the chance on injury, but what we're not going to have is tired players.
Absolutely. There's a huge difference there too, right? And I think that we've got such a young core, I forget one of the bigger managers, I think it may have even been Klopp, where he made a comment on a player, he doesn't know the difference between being injured and hurt, right? And when you have young players like this, you can manage that. But ultimately, we do have such a great squad. And I agree. I don't think taking a punt on a player because we're desperate is the right way to go. We're in great position right now, and only Arsenal can beat Arsenal at this point. If we play the best we can play, we're going to drop points, but I don't see this team dropping those points. Wolves, for example, we know they're coming up Thursday. They're a good squad. We played them a couple of weeks ago. Arsenal of a year ago would have lost that match. We dug deep and we found something. And so I'm really confident that we can nab a European place. I'm not going to say Champions League, but it's in our grasp, right? But ultimately, Mike, for me, looking at this match, it was a great win. Nothing really fell our direction, and we still walked away with it. There's some drama because there has to be, and I just want to give my 2 cents on Xhaka. I don't understand, and I'm off Twitter, right? So I never went on there to see, but obviously from the text groups we're in, you could see there were people on Twitter that were really angry. Aren't these the same people 2 years ago who didn't want Xhaka to ever wear the armband again, and now they're upset because he's not taking the armband? And ultimately, the way I looked at it watching the match was, he didn't want to deal with that shit while things were happening around him. So I actually give him more praise for being no, my head right now is on who's defending who, and we're talking that. Fuck the armband. And also, if Eddie Nketiah is sitting in the room, and I made this joke in the text message, but it's true, the fucker had 2 jobs. The first one was know who your fucking captains are, and second is to score goals. And you're failing at both.
All right, so you who climb all over me for conspiracy theories have just automatically assumed that Nketiah fucked up and didn't know what he was supposed to be doing, which in and of itself is a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Now in private, you've cracked down on me for my Xhaka take, but I would like you in front of the world to explain to me what my Xhaka take actually is, because I'm not sure. Maybe by now you do, but I'm not sure you understood it.
I don't know.
You don't like his face.
I saw your 180 because I thought, ooh, Mike with his big numbers, right? All I know is that if Xhaka is involved in anything positive or negative, Mike has to think there's a conspiracy theory behind it. That's why Owen and I were going down the whole Illuminati route. So,
but did you know what my point was, though?
No, I knew what the point was, but you were still trying to create drama out of that.
I mean, yes, I created all the drama that's been going on Twitter because I am the ultimate influencer.
The fan base would love Xhaka if not for Mike. That's all I know.
I am the king of the gates because Xhaka Gate 22 this time. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, you can tell how long it's been since I liked Xhaka by this.
I think I had that same kit. Soph brings up a good point. It's all about, right, just let me read this. It wasn't about not taking it. It's about not passing it on. He made it look like he didn't want it, and because of his history, it was inevitable the narrative would ensue. And I agree. If it was any other player, more than likely this isn't a story, right? But what I don't understand is Xhaka has had the armband this season. Like, he's legitimately been captain multiple matches this season, or co-captain. So the narrative always has to be negative around the dude, and that's what I just don't understand.
And here's my thing, because I'm sorry, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
My initial reaction, which I tweeted when it happened, like, I was watching the game on my phone in Harrisonburg and took it off my phone to tweet about it, which is, if he just declined the armband, I've actually gained respect for him. So that's my take. That my ultimate take is that if that is what happened, and the narrative's been flipped on its head by the reporting by Kayak, and others about what exactly happened and the logistical elements of it. But if it was that, I gained respect for him, because basically I think I took it as, I acknowledge that I'm not seen as a desirable captain for this team, and I don't want to inflame the situation further. I was shocked by how many people, and I was listening to Sophie earlier today on the Highbury Squad, very perfectly kind of saying I overreacted, and now I kind of retract that, because in the moment I think she was upset that, what kind of a leader is this guy if he won't take the armband. I looked at it the complete opposite way, which is, in the context, I don't think that he should have the armband. But let's talk about a few things, because you mentioned, he's been captain a couple times this season. The leadership group of the three, we know who they are: Lacazette, Xhaka, Holding, pretty much in that order, were talked about in the context of, here's who we have after Aubameyang stripped of the captaincy. Could I find a quote online that said that those would be the three captains? No. So he didn't say,
wasn't it?
It was kind of
a group.
Yeah, it was the leadership group.
Yeah.
We have our leadership group. Here are the three people, and the evidence ever since then was that if Lacazette wasn't playing, it was Xhaka. If Xhaka wasn't playing, it was Holding. And we saw mid-game transfers of the arm bar, as Mike likes to call it. We saw, game transfers that pretty much supported that hierarchy. Tierney has had the armband, but I don't think it was ever when any of those three people or Aubameyang was on the pitch this season. I think he might have gotten in a league in a game that, and I'll have to do the research on that. So
also, Mike, look at what time that group was formed. Wasn't Tierney out long-term injury as well?
My watch thinks that we're talking about. No, I don't think so. Tierney came back shortly after the Watford game, and Auba didn't lose the arm bar until December. So yeah, no, I don't think that that's the case. I think people were wanting to see Tierney get it after Aubameyang was stripped, and were disappointed that it was the kind of three oldest players on the team that got it instead. So if Tierney was vice captain for the game, and if he was in line to take the armband when Lacazette was inevitably subbed off, that in and of itself is an interesting thing to discuss, and what that means for the future of the captaincy at Arsenal. But the Xhaka controversy part, whether he didn't want to take it to Tierney as a intermediary, because Nketiah wasn't supposed to cross from being the 9 to going back to the left back, or not, to me, all I was saying was that if Xhaka declined the armband in the moment and said, give it to Tierney, if that's what ended up happening, I would gain respect for Xhaka. I wouldn't start liking him, but for this one show only, I'm showing my support of him.
Well, and I'd just like to say before Hers jumps in is I want to go back to my original point. There is one person to blame here, and it is the player who doesn't score goals and doesn't pay attention in the pre-match meeting to know who the order of captains are, and that's Eddie and Nketiah. Okay? If we're going to go out and we're going to put the blame on one person's shoulders, it is Eddie's. And as Tom Canton has said numerous times for numerous years, Eddie is not good enough to play for Arsenal, and this is probably the reason why.
I wasted all my time doing this.
Write down the names in the order inside.
I'm almost certain that I can find a text from Tom Canton saying Nketiah is not good enough for Arsenal.
Oh, we have it. I think it was on Twitter.
I mean, literally just look up the Gooner Talk and Eddie and Ketia, and I'm pretty sure there's maybe a few of those tweets coming from good old Tom. So Ketia is awful. Okay, so I disagree with Tom. I think there's absolutely a lot of things going on with it.
Ketia is great.
Yeah, I'm just playing around. No, here's my simple logic behind here. Look, I understand what Sophie is saying. Yeah, Xhaka could have received the armband, and now I got armbar in my head, Mikey, thanks to you, and I'm struggling. So I could have just get the armband from Eddie and walked him over himself to Tierney. But look, I have zero reason to question, and this is going to make you chuckle, Mikey, because I know he lost his head with the fans, to look at Xhaka any way less as not respecting the club and his teammates. He's always performed well. He's always honed everybody's respect in the locker room, the manager's respect. So I did not look at this for 1 second and thought, oh, this is like petulant, like he just didn't want to and he was acting up. What I honestly think happened, we just spoke about the 9-day retreat when they were just warm weather, just chilling, relaxing, and had an opportunity to regroup. When they were over there, Aubameyang didn't travel. It was clear that he was leaving. And I think that the leader group kind of, got together again. Maybe, Auba's out of it now. They had to make a decision moving forward. I think the decision of who might be captain for next season is already kind of in play amongst the squad. So as Andy mentioned, Xhaka's been captain this season before. What I'm curious to see is if we're going to see Xhaka be captain again for the season. So I think this is future casting where I think Xhaka himself knows his time at the club is coming to an end. And I think he might have relayed that message to his own teammates and said, hey, so moving forward, hey, it could be, but
all three of us have separate conspiracy theories.
But could you imagine just for a second the outcry if Xhaka did take the armband and instead of putting it on, ran it across the field to another player? Well, people would have been like, why wouldn't he have wanted it?
I would have loved that, especially if he kneeled down to put it on him, like when you see the guy kneel down and shine the guy's shoe after a goal. And then
only in Xhaka's world would the ball would have been thrown in, he would have been out of position, they would have scored a goal, and then it's on him as well.
Yeah, that would have been
again,
definitely.
It relates back to one person, and Soph and I are in complete agreement. Eddie can't pass an armband with a GPS system, and he can't find a goal with a map and a compass. All he is right now is a drain on both our lives and personally Xhaka's lives.
What he should have done was he should have tried to head the armband to Xhaka. Because then it would have gone to Tierney. I missed it.
That's true. He should have just tried to kick it to Xhaka, and it would have made its way to Tierney. You're
like when the ball goes out to the like it doesn't even go out to a corner; it goes out the side. Yeah, that's what he should have done.
Real quick, count of three, just because I'm seeing it in the chat, and count of three. Who's your next captain that you want next season? Okay, we all know Laka's leaving, right? 1, 2, 3. Odegaard.
Yeah.
No, I want Tierney. I know there's a strong shot for Odegaard and Gabriel.
Ooh, you're going with the goalie. Okay.
Well, do you know who he is? I mean, he's a power-hungry ex-goalie himself.
The whole
can't even stop 3 shots.
Never be a captain is so stupid because
you got Tom backing with
Nketiah, by the way. Olivier Kahn, Neuer, the short Barthez, who else? There's a shit ton of Casillas was Real Madrid's fucking captain for 15 years. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the only thing about the goalie being captain is the whole thing about how easy is it to talk to the referee. But you can have a Tierney be that guy.
Oh, totally. And if it's that serious, you can make the trip down the pitch, right? You could if it's really
especially if you're winning and you're trying to time waste legally. He has to come down to the opposite corner flag to talk to the referee about just the smallest little decision.
All right, so I'm gonna move it on because we're trying to keep this to a tight hour. It's clear that there's a lot of Arteta and Edu in and out, and it's also clear to me that they have totally fucked Arsenal by selling Aubameyang for nothing when he went on to score a hat-trick in a league that doesn't matter in the world because there's 2 good teams and they're not really that good anymore. And what do we call it? What's the equivalent? Hey, Mike, you're here. What's farmers in Spanish?
I can't even think of the word. You caught me off guard. Farmers.
Farmero.
El Farmer.
That word. Listen, Spain is a feeder league.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no talent there. The league has been a feeder league for several years. I'm doing this because I know an and drives Tom crazy. Athletic Madrid and Atletico Bilbao are playing over the weekend, and nobody knows.
Atleti Bilbao.
Hey guys, hold on a second. I just thought of something genius.
And then I got something for you.
That is actually scary.
Just mail the captain's armband to whatever new striker we want and say, "Hey, come to Arsenal. You're our captain."
That hasn't worked in the past.
Wouldn't that be?
We usually give it to people
next in line to be sold to.
We usually give it to people to convince them to leave, not to come to Arsenal. But before we get
that might help in our like come to us for 1 or 2 seasons and then you'll get sold on.
So I want to bring it back to the beginning of the pod because you, in a very emotional moment, if you came in late, and 16 of you did.
I planned it like that. I knew you were going to
16 and Mike Hernandez. Andy had a very touching story about how much he enjoys watching the Arsenal with his 5-year-old son,
soon to be 5,
and so I brought back a little something, and my boy right here, who's now 18. Look how much taller than me he is.
Well, you're sitting down, aren't? Well,
no, I'm not sitting down. But
there's the striker solution right there.
He is a striker. Just came back from.
Congratulations on your college admission.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And he just got back from tryouts for the high school varsity team, which he played on last year. So. I mean, you're pretty much gonna. I mean, you're the Belanda high school at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guaranteed. I
yeah,
need to show up today.
Yeah. Hey, just whatever you do, think to yourself: if Nketiah is gonna do this, I shouldn't do it, and then you're gonna be the world's best player.
Yeah.
Just memorize who the captains are.
Yeah. So listen. So did you hear his voice just now? Do you remember, Andy, when we did the first few episodes? I think this was our 4th episode ever, and we couldn't find a guest because we didn't know anybody yet, and so we used to do these picks, and we had Jake do picks for me, after which you were like, if we want to be taken seriously as a podcast, we need to stop inviting our family members on.
And that was when you're like, hey, Soph could do it, and I'm like, we cannot invite our wives to do this.
I said Steph. I'm not married to Soph.
Sorry.
I know it may seem like it, but she's not interested in my kind, and we have a very platonic relationship.
Jewish people?
But here, all right. Here's the voice from 5 years ago.
Filling our guest spot today, someone who is near and dear to my heart. He is my son, who is a lifetime Gooner. His name is Jake, and he is joining the podcast for picks this week. Jake?
Yep. Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Now, do you mean having you on the pod, or for having you like as a kid in the first place?
Both, but in this case, on the pod.
Okay, perfect.
Right, and so
Mike, your balls have dropped.
We are going to go to the Arsenal and Southampton match. I'm going 4-0 Arsenal. Confidence has got me buzzing. I think that the crowd's going to be right behind the team for our new signings. We should have a fully healthy team. We should have some great depth on the bench. So I'm going 4-0 Arsenal.
I'm picking.
All right, that wasn't. It was supposed to be much more of him, but and I don't know why it was. There were like 2 audio tracks on there, but
Andy's a mic hog. He was trying to take the time and of glory of Jake.
Well, listen, Mike, your balls have dropped since that episode, and good for you.
They have.
What are you, like a year or 2 younger than Tom Canton? They're about right.
He's talking to you.
I don't know how old Tom is. How old is he?
He's 19.
He's a fetus.
Yeah, you were a fetus when he was born. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring on my son because this is my Arsenal partner right here. We love the team. He wears this to tryouts because he's proud. And what? 14 years you'll have this. This is not the same one. It's my other son.
Not this one.
Yeah. All right, bud.
Hey, good luck.
Lovely.
Good
luck with Mike as your dad.
27?
That's bullshit.
I don't know. He was 18 when we met.
People keep asking why Mike's
He's
echoing,
26.
and it's because
He's just saying
Jake
he's
opened the
27,
door to
50
their and Mike's house is a mansion, so the halls echo. So because Jake opened the doors, it's just you're gonna hear a lot of echo. God, he has gotten big, hasn't he?
Who, Tom?
Tom or Jake?
How many people, Mike, have we?
By the way, those aren't his knees.
Is that your head?
Yeah, I was doing childbirth. I was up there.
How many people have we met from starting this podcast who slummed on our couches?
Who have been on? Okay, you had
Anton. I had Ola.
I've had Ola numerous times. I've had
Owen
Canton numerous times, and I had Owen. I don't think I've had any other people. Oh no, I've had I've had Rosenhammer, but I already knew him. I had the Arsenal DJ slept on my couch twice on my last trip. Peter, who is the superstar and played the Saka and Emil Smith Rowe song at the end of the game the other day, fell asleep on my couch twice. Well, he didn't fall asleep. He lives far from the Emirates, and my flat seemed to be a better location than going home for the night at 3:00 in the morning. I think that Big Steve Warrington, who when I woke up at noon the next day, he was walking around my flat in Highbury without his shirt on.
We're a pot of the people. You would never, ever would Canton invite us back to his house to share a couch with Georgia. It just wouldn't happen.
I don't know. I've got that planned for the big wedding.
That's what the $10,000 Patreon gets you.
I'm intentionally not making a hotel reservation, if you know what I'm talking about, for the
no,
wedding
Mike,
of the
please
century.
expand on that. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, back to Aubameyang playing in the El Farmero League. Listen, a friend sent me the shot of his hat trick, and I just said that's great for him. I wish him no ill will. He was a great player for us. He's a cunt of a player when it comes to actually being a teammate, it appears, because he's done it at every club, and eventually he'll do it at Barcelona. But ultimately, hey, good luck to him, right? I mean, that's $300,000 off of our wage bill. We could probably find 2 or 3 players that will actually care about the club, and it is what it is. He's not going to score a hat trick every match.
Well, and I mean, is there a special kind of hat trick for when 33% of the goals go off your anus?
If Tom is quoting Arrested Development, he has gone up even further in my book with this quote.
I think he's quoting Georgia right now, actually.
And if she's quoting Arrested Development,
she couldn't go up any further in my book to begin with, though. So yeah, there's that. This is going to happen at the wedding, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
Are you breakdancing?
This is chat room. This is where the podcast is getting ready to end, but the guys don't know how to end it. So just random shit's going to be popping up on the screen.
And I'm glad that they invited a +1, because I am 100% going with this one. So if you know, you know.
Aubameyang. I think I'm going to put him on the list of a lot of players that might potentially end up leaving. Like Granit Xhaka, I know he divides opinions whether some people rate him, some people don't. I think it's fair to say that he's valuable to the team right now based on the players that we have. But Granit Xhaka is an example of a player that is going to, if he ends up in Italy, he will probably truly shine. Damn you, Andy, you are driving me crazy. So I think Aubameyang got a few more goals in him, and I think he lost some pace, but he's still pretty good to play in La Liga, which is slightly slower. All right, Andy, go ahead, play the music. You're driving me crazy.
I'm gonna play it whenever you talk. I just think
that's your background. You can actually upload music to StreamYard now.
Yeah, so that's too much work.
We'll have to work on that for next time.
Oh no, Andy, they're gonna demonetize this. Oh no,
the Aubameyang thing. When's the last time we monetized a pod? I'm like, if people have to sit through a 10-second advertisement for before listening to us, they're just gonna turn it off. So Aubameyang, the backlash about him scoring 3 goals, 2.5 goals yesterday. I mean, I don't know that many people, maybe there's some, but that many people said that he had absolutely nothing left in the tank as a footballer and would never have another good game in the rest of his life, especially playing for a team like Barcelona. I personally didn't think so. I thought maybe, like his mentality, at his level of interest, which goes to his play, runs out after 2 or 3 seasons, as we've seen before, and that it wasn't, that he wasn't due to have a rebound at Arsenal for whatever reason. And I put it on him. He was done here. He checked out. So his play was affected. His discipline was affected. I think it was the right move to just cut ties with him. And, but did I think that every time he played for Barcelona, he was going to, kick the ball backwards into his own net? No. I mean, the guy's got talent. And when you put the talent and the interest and playing on a good team together and playing in a farmers league, you're going to score goals off your ass.
I just want to, I agree. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Mark Ainge. I'm assuming this is the same Mark. If not, it's going to be a very, very weird coincidence. But Mark is the reason essentially why I'm a Gooner. Extended family of mine got me into Arsenal. And thanks for listening. He lives over in Spain. If this is the same Mark, I would assume it is. But I agree with you, Mike. Like, he's not gonna, he was never gonna do anything. He tried, right? Even the last couple matches where he was on the fence, like, he put himself into position, but I think he was mentally just gone, because there were games where he could have just bagged the sitter, and I think there was just too much in the locker room and everything else happening. You wish him well, and you want to see him scoring goals, right? But he wasn't our captain anymore, and that's okay, right? We're going to get better players in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing people though on Twitter and Facebook that are, aka the places that Andy will not go anymore.
The real people
that are just slamming Arteta now for letting Aubameyang go. I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
It's more about Arteta than
lying in wait for. Lying in wait for 3 goalless games from Aubameyang until he scores a goal. And my God,
more the manager.
He gets 3 against Valencia, which is essentially the same level as Sunderland, who Eddie got a hat trick against. So, big deal. I mean, if he doesn't score the next game, then am I going to go talk about how he's only scored 3 goals in his entire career in Spain ever? No, I'm not.
Yeah,
because I'm better than that. And you know it.
These are the same people that are angry because Xhaka didn't take the armband because it was Tierney's turn, right? It's the league gunners of the world who are just, see you next Tuesdays.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Still waiting for the money back from that shirt, by the way. So we've got 2 podcasts going here. We've got the Gooners podcast, and then we have Sophie and Tom, who are basically talking about his wedding now at this point. So
I also would like to say there is.
Raise your hand if you were invited to the wedding, by the way.
I'll also like to say that there is someone in this, basically someone made a joke that they're the only person in this group chat that doesn't have a podcast, and there is one guy in there, Danny the GFP, who we asked to come on today as a guest. And not only did he slap us in the face by saying no, he didn't even answer, Mike. He literally read the text messages and just.
Well, he answered in here with some lame ass. I just saw your text here.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and
it's there. It's somewhere. He answered something about just waking up and eating meat.
Oh no, he said
not
that,
in that order.
But Andy, the conspiracy theorist, thinks that he full well saw it. And decided not to.
I'd have said yes. I was listening to Rogan and cooking. Don't bring up Rogan around Tom Canton. I don't have notifications on, but either way, you two are both mindless twats, and I love hers more than all 3 of you.
Well, that makes sense.
I choose to believe that's true, and that's what I'm going to go with.
I made the last part up, but I also know it's true.
No, don't want to hear it. Before I know you wanted to keep, within an hour and now all Andy. So I just out of curiosity, I know Mikey said you guys haven't discussed the new, I guess, raising the bar in the whole top 4, not making that as a failure now. Henry came out and said that a few fans have been saying that for a few weeks. And now there's another ex-Arsenal player that's skipping my mind that also kind of chimed in and just backing what Henry said. just curious with you guys, like Andy, where are you on that? Like, I think it's fair to say that the majority of the fan base didn't see us as a top 4 team going into the season after the transfer window. We discussed this before, where it was like a total meltdown. Who the hell has Ben White? Too much money in Ramsdale. Like a hero. Who the hell is he from a mid-table? Yada, yada, yada. So on and so forth. Now we found ourselves in a situation where, look, I hate these stats like 53 or 55%. And I freaking hate stats like that. So I'm not going to piggyback on that. But, simple maths here is we win games we're in. The future it's in our hands. So, but where are you on the whole idea of now it's seen as we went from a mid-table team, hell, at the beginning of the season, oh my God, we're going to get relegated, to if we don't finish 4th, where we failed. Like, where do you stand on that? Fair, not fair, fair game?
Right now,
guys, let's talk about something important. Is this what we're having at the wedding?
I fucking hope so, because that's my favorite.
Oh my God.
I'm not invited to said wedding, so this is really hurting my feelings, guys. And you guys are no longer invited for the taco truck next weekend. There.
We're not invited to the birth of your next 13 children.
That's what I thought he was going to say. I thought he was going to say you're not invited to the next birth of my child, which will take place.
I'm not live streaming anymore for you people.
Which will take place 1 month after the birth of my last child.
I think right now, Mike, to answer your question, we are, like, if you look at the table, it's hard to say this because we are the top 4 team, but we're a top 4 team because if we win out our matches and they're matches that we can pick up points, we are a top 4 team and it's in our grasp. So yes, I think we have to take it. Like, this is a great opportunity. The teams around us are losing points. West Ham are here to stay, it seems like.
I don't think so.
But them,
I think their descent is beginning.
Yeah, United, even Chelsea, they're all dropping points. And like, dare to say it. Like I said it before you joined the pod. If we win out, we're going to be fucking close to Chelsea, which is 3rd, right? So it's like,
if we win out, we're getting 3rd.
Goal difference.
15 games in a row.
Right, but we are there, and so we have to take it. And I will say this: if this team somehow can finish in the Champions League, that they're fucking young, they will turn ruthless because they're going to have that ability to then go that next level, and the bar should be raised. So I really, truly believe that if we can get top 4, we can do a fucking damage because and I, like you mentioned all those players before, Edu and Arteta have not failed us on signings. And all of the people that are leaving for free aren't on them. That's not on this senior leadership team, right? That they're getting rid of all the dead weight from fucking years ago. And so they're trying to build something. It's totally within our grasp and we have to take it. But I tell you this, if you can give this team top 4 and they get in the Champions League and we pepper in some other players, this is going to be a fun team to watch. And I'm not saying we're going to win the Champions League, but we got to be there, right? We have to be into a shout. Like, top 4 isn't a trophy. Right now it is for us. That's all we got.
If we get into the top 4 this season, I would say that the plan that the Kroenkes and the Edu and Arteta have set in motion, the latest one, will be 1 year ahead of schedule, which suits us even better because I've been running the spreadsheets on our finances and our payroll next year giving the pay bump to Saka and Emil Smith Rowe that's probably coming summer window. I mean, we got a lot of room to add quality, and that's all we need is to add a handful of quality people. We don't need an entire squad makeover anymore, I don't think. So.
Am I the only person that thinks
yes?
And it's probably the answer is yes. Am I the only person that thinks the Rams winning the Super Bowl is good for Arsenal? Not in financial sense, because I understand that doesn't mean shit.
Haaland confirmed.
But if you're an ownership group and you're about to win, like you're winning the Super Bowl and you're down on the field and you're like,
who was it that said that on Twitter?
Euphoria. Right.
Was it you, Mike? Someone was like,
I said it was going straight to the war chest.
Yeah, no, but like the euphoria of just winning, and then like you look at what Kroenke Sports are doing, right? Like Mike, it's the hardest cup to win in sports. Like, we get that, right? But you look at what they're doing right now in Colorado, who, bar today, like, are just tearing teams apart. And it's like, you almost want to say that, like, them winning the Super Bowl, like, the Cronkies have to look at this and be like, we want more of this, right? Like,
I mean, there's probably something to that, but I mean, it's a different sport. They might want it more. But in none of the other sports do you actually have to increase your spending. You just have. I mean, it's like it's a zero-sum game almost. Rosters and teams.
Don't think about spending. Just the euphoria of being like, we like.
Oh well, sure. I'm sure. Someone at Wigan feels the same way. If they won a game of darts, the euphoria of winning would make them want to win promotion and event. I know. I get what you're saying, but I don't know that it translates to spending. And ultimately, most people think in the terms of, oh well, maybe they'll spend more now. A lot of people are saying maybe they'll spend their Super Bowl money on Arsenal, which there is no Super Bowl money that they got for winning it. That argument is ridiculous, but. I guess we'll see. And I don't know that they weren't showing that while very, very patient, like the window isn't closing. The window's closing for the Rams. And so they made some moves to push them over the edge. But the window is just opening for Arsenal. And I don't think they want to screw up the process by deviating too far from it, and I think that we saw that to a fault in the January window. That is absolutely true. The Bucks winning did well. I mean,
but look at they
spend money every year.
Specific example, like Manchester United's wage bill, the players that they've signed, they gave too much credit to Solskjaer for fucking helping them over a small hump. If you gave a Pep Guardiola or a Klopp that Manchester United side, they're winning the league.
Well, and they spend money they spend
exactly.
over 100 million net.
They're always searching for the win. All I'm saying is that if you look at the holistic approach of what Kroenke Sports are doing, someone just put it in here, Mark. Arsenal don't want to be the run to that litter because all of their teams right now, except the Nuggets, are in championship caliber, and maybe the Nuggets are there or thereabouts. But I'm just saying that on the grand scheme of things, if you look at that, Arteta was just in Denver with the Cronkies. There's obviously some stuff happening. There's a plan in place. And I'm just all these people were like, it means nothing. Financially, I get that. But the sense of winning, if you own sports,
that's how I talk.
That's the thing. No, not just you. Everyone was like, oh, they're going to just pump in million. No, you're fucking stupid if you think it happens. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, and the people that talk about how much money you put on the stadium, that it was deviated from us. I mean, but it cannot hurt. Whether it helps or not, I guess we'll find out. And it'll be hard to measure whether it helps or not because we're already trying to do everything that we can to win within a certain construct. And the only way to go outside of that construct is to spend crazy money in a time where we're losing money financially because of COVID and no Europe, which is, what people have been wanting him to do for a long time, is spend 300 million pounds of his own money, bring in Haaland and Mbappe.
Right, and that's just the names. So if we spent 300 million on Mbappe, right, that doesn't make Arsenal all of a sudden world beater because he's just one player. But if you gave me Tomiyasu cost 16 million, so it's rounded up to 20. If you gave them 100 million, and who his
good friends are.
Yeah, if you find 5 of those guys for 100 million, that makes your team better because you got 5 quality players. So I don't even care about the spend or who the player is that's coming in. If they're a quality player, whether they're 2 million or 200 million, it doesn't matter, right?
Well, no, and I'd rather find. I mean, I think you just need to sprinkle a couple of those big name players who are almost guaranteed successes, almost, and you don't have to do it in 8 different positions like the Real Madrids and Barcelonas of the world.
Do you know who I blame for the Rams winning the Super Bowl? And it's going to catch you off guard here, but it's Nketiah. Okay.
Because he scored against Bayern in LA. That's why. It somehow translated a last-minute goal translated to a last-minute win for the Rams. I mean,
the LA fans got a taste for winning, and they motivated the Rams into that Super Bowl glory. I absolutely love that. Yeah.
All right, so what we've determined today is that Tom Canton is serving mini beef Wellingtons at the wedding, that
all I'm gonna say,
not
Cameron,
invited.
if you don't serve mini beef Wellingtons and you've set this bar for Mike, there is gonna be a meltdown.
I
And
think
I'm
he,
not gonna
I
be able
think
to
he was
take it.
actually answering a question about like what his favorite like wedding meal or something, whatever, a caniopi is or whatever he was talking about. I don't think he was actually saying that that's what he was serving at the wedding, but now it is.
He's going to Georgia. I've made a huge mistake.
It is going to be beef Wellingtons. It is going to be Gordon Ramsay. He's going to bring over the beef Wellingtons from the Savoy.
I feel like Tom is more of a Jamie Oliver guy.
I don't know. Tom prefers indigenous whenever he can. We're gonna have indigenous at the wedding.
Oh God! Of course he's going to put some Spanish dish on there.
It's gonna be the Asensio. Oh, he should like name the dishes after players, like Asensio, Aju. Who else is he? Oh, who's that weird guy from Salzburg that we didn't end up getting? Oh, Schoboschlei. That's what you have to do. Look, okay. You know what? We're gonna save you some money, Tom, because we're planning the wedding. I know you've got the location.
I feel like it should be planned already, but we're gonna replan it.
No, well, right. Whatever you've done so far.
Cancel
hopefully
everything.
You haven't put like any. I mean, you can do the venue, the seating. We're planning the theme.
We're not saying you haven't done a good job, but we're not saying you've done a good job.
We're gonna do the entertainment. We're gonna be the band.
Oh yeah, I already have a 5-minute Eagle Eye Cherry medley that I'm going to be singing, regardless if there's a microphone or not.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do the radio Saka song where on my deck with sparklers where I backed into my umbrella and almost fell down.
Do you think we could pay Xhaka to do a cameo where he's handing Tom an armband?
we should do that.
Or like
That's
the garter.
Real
Is that
comment from Tom
like,
tonight. You're assuming I have a say in this wedding.
You do.
If you think
plan it, you just don't get to go to it.
Anything.
You can help.
Tom's the
plan
one
it,
in the corner nodding. Well, like Georgia gives him a suggestion.
And these two people have to be invited.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia, I love beef Wellington. I didn't mention that. Stop playing FIFA for 5 minutes.
And this is gonna be how Andy gets ready for the wedding. Okay.
Your foot, dude. Yesterday, I turned our TV on and Chris had paused that Dr. Pimple Popper, and it was like of a foot. And I was like, why is Mike's foot on my television? That was my first thought to myself.
What is Dr. Pimple Popper?
It's that guy or the girl a doctor who pops pimples. It's disgusting.
Oh,
Dude,
I didn't realize that was like a
binge watch that, and I just look away. Ugh.
All right.
Ugh.
On a serious note, we're gonna go out with this. First of all, it's been a lot of fun potting again with the OG3.
I'll see you guys in about 5 months.
Yeah, we should do this more often. But
we need to do it more
Who was
often.
the
End of
person
season
that
review it
begged
is.
for me to
Until
come back?
next time.
What?
Who was the person that begged for me to come back?
Well, Drago was excited about it, and then we didn't see him in the chat.
So it was Tom. Tom was pretty happy to see
I
you
want
here.
to say it wasn't Dublin. It was
I don't know.
maybe Matt D'Souza.
Yeah, I think it might have been him. Yeah. Why he's so excited to have you back, I have no idea. But please do go to goonersvcancer.com. We're kind of in a lull right now because I've been focusing on my health and not really too much on
you selfish son of a bitch.
Twitter and stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to prevent cancer and other things myself. But we do still have entries available. We're like somewhere around 30% of the way sold out for this, and we'll keep going until we sell it out. But if you haven't seen this shirt, or if you haven't donated yet, get your $25 in. It's about 18 quid or so for an entry to win this shirt. Should we cut out with the video and then just be done when we're done? Or
the video for the thingy?
Yeah.
I thought you just meant one of your videos, which I was saying no to, but the video for the video, yeah.
Yeah, the video for the video. Let's whatever that means. All right, So, Mike,
I just want to say there was a lot of kind chat comments when I first came in, and I as a guest, I would normally highlight them and respond with the pod and say thank you very much. So a lot of early on good, nice comments when they first saw me. I just want to say thank you so much. Like Dublin Gooners in there, he's avid listener of the Not Another Arsenal podcast as well, and he's always showing us some support. And I wasn't able to highlight anything, so anybody still in the chat when I first come on to the pod, thank you so much for the love and support. It's always a pleasure.
Like it, subscribe,
comment,
and do watch it. Like and subscribe our stuff. Like and subscribe Not Another Arsenal podcast. It really is. Are all four of you going to be on?
Unfortunately, we got one more week without my good friend Chris, so it's just gonna be Kelly, Sebi, and myself.
Well, I might be available if you want me, but if you don't, I won't be hurt. But
okay. Andy, what are you doing later on tonight?
Yeah,
are you busy? Hey, Mike, what are you doing?
It's a very, very good podcast with very good chemistry. It's good stuff. So please watch.
I listen to it while I'm pooping.
Andy, come back soon. Come up. A good idea to do a podcast today. Sometimes it's last minute, but congrats to you for having a son who loves Arsenal and didn't go back to the West Ham and didn't skip a generation. And,
hey, just a quick story. So, like 2 weekends ago, my sister took my nephews to Tottenham. Tottenham Brighton, and I'm not kidding you.
I love
One nephew loves Tottenham. The other one loves West Ham. The one who loves West Ham stepped in dog shit walking into the stadium, and his dad stopped him and said, "Remember this moment, because Tottenham are dog shit." I was like, saying that to a 6-year-old is fantastic. But why was there dog shit at that stadium? Like while you're walking in, it doesn't make sense.
You have to learn the hard way sometimes, and this is the ultimate lesson that Tottenham get better everywhere they go.
You can Mike's trying to find the video right now. Yeah, hit the like button, subscribe.
And go to GoonersVCancer.com. Go to GoonersVCancer.com and win this. Come on, you Gooners.
Good ball by Gibson.